Welcome to the Nerd Party.
It's not working.
Well, how long since you've cleaned the heads?
The what?
The heads. Do you have any alcohol?
To drink?
What? No, to clean it. Check the tracking.
The rental place closes in 2 hours.
Shut up, it's working.
Time for a retro perspective.
Hello and welcome to Retro Perspective, a new show on the Nerd Party Network where we take a look at the movies that were released 25 years ago this week. I'm Mike.
I'm John.
And today we're taking a look at the movies which were released on January 14th, 1994.
1994. Yes, we had a choice of 3 movies this week. Right? There was one that came out on the 12th.
Right. It was a Wednesday opening,
and that was House Party 3.
Yep.
And then the other ones were Body Snatchers, Iron Will, and was there another one in that mix?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, Body Snatchers. Again, it's so weird to think of just release schedules just from back then. I know I talked about that like ad nauseum last time, but it's so weird. Like you expect 10 different titles to show up every week, and it's like no, that's normal release schedule, especially for back then.
Yeah, it is. And this time of year, I think too. And the other thing to consider is that we're talking about new releases from 1994. So just like today, like for example, this week, on January 11th, 2019. The releases included Replicas, On the Basis of Sex, If Beale Street Could Talk, all of these movies being movies which were initially released limitedly in 2018 so that they could qualify for Oscar consideration. So
yeah, and something that's interesting because one of the things we were talking about with the release and everything is, with that limited release or end of the year release, there may be movies you remember from 1994 because you saw them in 1994, but they were released, say, on like Christmas of '93, like Tombstone. Is a movie that in my brain is a 1994 movie, but no, it was released within the last 2 weeks of the year. Therefore, like it's this weird sort of whiplash effect that happens.
Yeah. That's how it works.
It is how it works. So, true to the format, neither one of us knows which movie we selected to watch this week, but I have a feeling this is one of those weeks where we watch the same thing.
I think you're probably right.
Yes.
Which movie did you choose?
I watched Body Snatchers, the 1994 update directed by Abel Ferrara starring Gabrielle Anwar. That is an update of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was 1950s originally. And then there was the very famous Donald Sutherland version. Well, I mean, he didn't direct it, but his name's associated with it because he was one of the main characters. And I think, wasn't Nimoy in that one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nimoy was in that one. And then this one is, as the cycle of Hollywood goes, every 20 years you get a remake just about. And so we get Body Snatchers.
Yeah, and there was another one made, I don't know, like 20 years after this called The Invasion.
Yes, with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. Because there was a very famous, wasn't there was an on-set accident with one of the car stunts.
I don't remember that. I just remember I think it was either shelved for years or something like that, but it was considered to be like a really, really bad movie. And it was just kind of dumped out, I think, after recuts or reshoots or something. It was a troubled production, for sure.
I wonder if Body Snatchers, this version, has a similar sort of story behind it. Because I could swear I detected the faint aroma of reshoots and edits to get this thing out into the public.
That could be. I was kind of looking forward to this because I just watched that other Abel Ferrara movie last week, and I was like, well, this seems a little different, sci-fi, something or other. And, he seems like an artiste and everything, and what does that all mean when he decides to do a remake of a classic or two classics, really?
Yeah.
When you think about it, and I don't know, what did you think about this, just in general?
Well, in general, I didn't care for it a great deal. There was a puzzling lack of tension or suspense for a movie concept that really requires those things in order to function properly.
Yeah.
Like I had no sense of dread. It was just a thing that was happening, and I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. It's not like one of those movies where you say, "Oh, this is so god awful. I can't barely watch anymore." But at the same time, I think that probably in 12 months' time, I'm going to be thankful that we immortalized my reaction to it, because I don't think I'm going to remember even seeing this. It's just, ugh. What was your reaction to it?
I think it was pretty similar. I was kind of intrigued by it in some ways, but at the same time, I think because, there's the classics. And I mean, have you seen all of them or some of them, or what have you seen?
Yeah, I've seen the 1950s one, and I've seen the Donald Sutherland one. It's been a number of years since I've seen the Sutherland one, but, that one creates an indelible impression, especially Sutherland's last shot in that film. So, yeah, there's a real affinity for those first two versions. And I don't know if it's the production itself or just the fact that Body Snatchers sort of belongs to a Cold War era.
Yeah. In
a large sense. And so it doesn't translate well to a world without a Berlin Wall, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Because, I mean, I haven't seen the 70s version. I've only seen the original, and then I also saw the Invasion. But, I love the original. And you're right that it really does. I mean, it's all about, the Red Scare and everything like that. And this seemed to be really kind of about nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was just an event.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's these, body snatchers, these aliens, and they're doing this thing, and it's weird. It's a weird sci-fi concept, but, the concept going into it. Even if you haven't seen the originals, you pretty much know what's going on from the beginning. So there's no sense of mystery or anything like that. It's just sort of going through the paces. And I mean, luckily it's short. It's under an hour and a half.
Yes, that is merciful.
But which really, kind of intrigued me. But there's really nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why the runtime, and also I think that you can definitely see that they cut giant swaths of this out in order to get it. I mean, they do that. They cut stuff down so they can get as many showings out of it as they can while it's in theaters, so that they can take as small a loss as possible or whatever. But it really, I mean, that is the oddest sense about it, because while I was watching it, even though we agree this belongs to the Red Scare era, this belongs to Berlin Wall, Soviets versus U.S., but at the same time, this is something that could be really interesting and relevant in the social media age in a very large way, because of the whole, pressure of groupthink and the suppression of individual opinion for the benefit and the tranquility. And if somebody expresses, the trademark of the creatures, they screech out and point if you don't follow in lockstep with everything, which you could very easily draw a one-to-one with, the public shaming that happens when somebody, gets targeted on social media or something like that. So it could be relevant. It's just that I don't think this version is relevant to any time period or any. It's almost as if there was, at best, a surface understanding of the story and not its meaning And so this is, as a result, just going through the motions.
And for some reason, I was like surprised by that. I think because of the movie that I watched last week, Dangerous Game, which was also directed by Abel Ferrara. And there was something about the way that that movie was directed, the idea that Harvey Keitel was so naturalistic in his portrayal of this director directing that it almost felt like there was no director for the movie that you were watching, or at the very least that this is how Abel Ferrara directs. And the results were, I would say, pretty naturalistic. I mean, some of the performances were a bit over the top, but they were going for a naturalistic feel. You could tell that there was a lot of improv going on and all that stuff. And I was really kind of excited to see that style translated into a science fiction movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do that really here. It's much more straightforward than Body Snatchers. And I guess because he's kind of considered to be like an artistic director and everything, I thought that like if he was going to be making or remaking a movie, which is, a remake of two classics, that he would really find like an interesting, weird take on it.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't. And like we're saying, it's not really about anything. And in hindsight, I mean, I guess just from my only experience with him as a director, which is, seeing Dangerous Game last week, I shouldn't have been surprised by that, because that was my complaint with that one too, is that it's really well made and you get to the end and you're like, well, why did we watch that? So I guess there's consistency in that regard, but everything else about it is pretty substantially different.
There's also a very interesting thing where nowadays we are extremely used to directors, productions coming on. If we're going to have military, we're going to do research. We're going to embed the actors with them. For Pete's sake, just a couple of years prior to this, T2 comes out, and Linda Hamilton had trained with the Israeli special forces so that she could present a real on-screen persona of somebody who understood military tactics and behavior. And we're more used to that now. And looking at the way that Ferrara shoots and stages things on a military base with the loose knowledge. I have enough family members who have been in the military that I've been on a fair number of military bases, and the behaviors on the military base are so obviously from somebody who has absolutely no concept and made no effort to understand how military bases work, that it was just kind of funny to revisit an era where that type of thing was less valued, where it wasn't the norm to know that somebody in a dramaturgy role did this huge amount of research to make sure that the depiction of this place that they're at was screen accurate, was dead on, and you couldn't tell it from the real thing.
Yeah. And I guess we're just a few years off from that, really. I mean, I think a lot of those Bruckheimer, Michael Bay productions were some of the movies that really tapped into that, even like Black Hawk Down and everything too. So, yeah, but not quite there yet. I will say, in the movie's defense, they have that little kid who looks like Haley Joel Osment but is not.
Yes,
and he's wearing some Air Jordan 7s, the ones that Bugs Bunny wears. So that's cool.
Had I noticed his shoes, I still wouldn't know that. But I do now, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Another thing that I like about it is that it's not just a straight-up remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? It's not like it's the same premise or anything. They really sort of take this idea, this situation, and create all new characters and everything in a new setting, obviously a new time period and everything like that, and basically say well, that's how these people would react. In fact, like I was watching the trailer for it and they say like the invasion continues. And I'm like, is this a sequel? And according to IMDb, it's not, but in some ways it could be. Like you could almost do like variations on a theme and say like, well, this is an event that happened, and you can like look at various people from around the world and how they dealt with this event. But that was one thing which I did like about it. The fact that they took the premise and told a new story as opposed to just, doing a scene for scene or character for character remake.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for, even if it doesn't work well, at least you tried something different. So yeah. I can see that. One complaint that I would lodge with it though is I can be very touchy about, and this predates even me having kids. I'm very touchy with the way they use kids in movies like this.
Yeah,
and I can't define the line. I can't define why I react certain ways during certain movies. And it's not a hard and fast rule, because Aliens, I have no problem with the way Newt is used in that movie. The child is put in peril. No problem. Get it. Understand. It seems natural and necessary. When you get to the end of this, there's that fight in the helicopter with the little kid.
Yeah.
Which, he's been replaced and everything. But I don't like that stuff because it's purposely thrown in there simply to tug on your heartstrings. It's almost like that loaded moment of, the kid, could you throw a kid out of a helicopter? And it's like, well, this is really not very necessary to do this right now. And why did you do that? You don't need to do that. Like, you can either let the kid go off screen, or you can see that he's been replaced and you get away before you have to make, it just seemed so cheap to do that at the end with the kid. That's
but how about that amazing special effect when they throw the kid out the helicopter?
Stunning. That was probably what upset me, is I was so convinced by its realism.
Yeah, it was, maybe not quite up to, ILM's usual standards. I mean, this is a year after Jurassic Park, so maybe not quite there yet. But it's a good example for why they started to go for digital doubles and stuff like that, because at least the contrast levels will match in those circumstances. Yeah.
So, yeah.
On the whole, I would say that this movie is not very good. It's interesting because I kind of went into this with the assumption that people hated it. I think because the idea that this was a remake of these two classic films, which were very popular, and they dumped it in the beginning of January with, I mean, it looks like, based on like what Box Office Mojo is saying, that it like barely got a release theatrically, which seems very strange to me. But it's like, okay, you're burying this thing, which you would think is like a big budget movie. You think it's like a pretty substantial release, and I just assumed that everyone just hated it, because if they liked it, it would be a much bigger movie. But like looking at Rotten Tomatoes, it's actually a fairly well-reviewed film. So that's kind of surprising.
That's stunning. That is honestly stunning. I just can't plug into that. I mean, sometimes there are movies where you could say, oh, yeah, I could see somebody liking it more than me. I can't. Like, this is a barrier for me. I cannot plug into somebody liking it substantially more than I did. So that's very curious. That's really curious. And I, in a sense, also felt bad for Gabrielle Anwar, because she's coming off of her Scent of a Woman, big splash role, and then to have something like this in a follow-up position isn't great. And I also felt bad because this is also, it's sort of the sunset of this era in the 90s, but sort of that treatment of a a young starlet on the way up, there's almost a guarantee that she's going to be showing more skin than she needs to at some point during the movie.
Yeah.
And so I actually felt bad for her and the woman who played the stepmom, because I was like, this doesn't really serve any purpose. Why did you do that sort of thing? So I don't know. I mean, it's like, this is, the 90s are sort of the setting sun on that moment, but I don't know. It's just, I noticed it too, where I was like, oh, this is not necessary. Feel bad for her.
Yeah. I don't think I'm too familiar with her work, really. I've never seen Scent of a Woman, and I don't think I've seen much that she's been in, but I thought she was good,
Oh yeah, the problem with the movie isn't her.
No.
She obviously showed up to work.
Yeah,
So-
and Forrest Whitaker is in it. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
in a part that I think was substantially cut down.
Probably, yeah.
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 And I can also say that I can tell, all real smokers and former smokers can tell, he wasn't really smoking. You can tell when somebody's inhaling the cigarette. Don't give somebody a cigarette if they're not really going to smoke, because it's just not convincing.
Yeah.
At least for those of us who know the sweet velvety release of nicotine-charged smoke in our lungs. So,
All right, well, that's good to keep in mind. Yeah.
yeah.
So, I think we would both agree that we would not recommend this movie.
Yeah, 1994 didn't get off to a great start, in my opinion.
Yeah. So
Sort
far,
of a
we're
rocky beginning.
0 for 3.
Yeah.
But, let's just briefly touch on the other movies that came out this week. House Party 3 was a Wednesday release. I watched the trailer for this, and it actually looked mildly amusing. It looked like Bernie Mac has a fairly large role in it, and he's always good. It also features Chris Tucker and a few other people. So, maybe that's something worth checking out at some point. Probably should have gone with that one instead, but,
Yep.
what can you do? And then Iron Will, which I remember when this movie came out.
I don't remember it at all.
I mean, here we are. I mean, because I'm pretty sure the air up there was Disney. So back-to-back live-action Disney movies, on consecutive weeks. Iron Will is a movie about a guy who's on a dog sled racing thing.
Iditarod.
There you go.
Yeah.
In, Alaska or wherever, I'm assuming. I don't know. And
Yes.
apparently it's based on a true story and all that stuff, and, very much, like in the trailer it says, in the grand tradition of Disney adventure,
Yeah.
So it looks boring. It looks very, very much like a Disney kids movie, and it's kind of crazy to see, what they were doing with live action, even as late as 1994. It's like, boy, they've come a long way in that regard, haven't they? So
Yeah. Well, now they're just remaking all their animated movies as live action. So
that's true. But I mean, you also have to count Marvel and, Star Wars.
do you have to count those though? Because
I think you
those
do.
are things that existed before Disney owned them. It's sort of like Google gets credit for YouTube, but all they did was buy it. And that, yes, they made improvements and everything, but Marvel was setting itself up. I mean, granted, their end goal was, yes, to have somebody come in and finance the hell out of everything. But these were entities that existed beforehand. So, I mean, personally, I still want to see Disney release stuff not necessarily Iron Will. I haven't seen it, but I'd like to see them get a little crazy and, just release the stuff that they used to be known for. Because why not?
Yeah, I'd like to see them sort of go back to the Bruckheimer stuff of the 90s. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked that nobody is doing that. Nobody is making those kinds of movies. I'm not talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, but how is Bruckheimer still not a massive player in the industry,
It's a good question. It's a really good question. How is Disney not? They're still not capitalizing on Tron, or even like a remake of The Black Hole would be awesome.
I mean, the thing about it, though, like with any time I hear like Tron, they need to make another Tron movie. I keep on thinking like, look at the schedule. Look at how many weeks there are in the year. Like they can only make so many, and of course they're going to prioritize things like Marvel movies because they're guaranteed hits. Tron Legacy wasn't really a hit.
Yeah, that still irks me. But
Yeah.
yes, I know. But the thing is, they got a Tron ride over in Shanghai that's coming over to the States.
Mm-hmm.
In the Iger era, that's a clear signal I'm going to be getting another Tron movie, right?
Could be.
Because
I mean, they've been talking about doing that one with Jared Leto, which seems really weird.
Well, they also people were also threatening to make a Robotech movie with I think it was Tobey Maguire for some time.
Yeah.
But they kept threatening and it didn't come true.
Yeah.
But I still want a Robotech movie. But
Yeah, I'd watch it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
So before we talk about next week, I do have a question for you, which I was going to ask last week, which I didn't, which is where were you in January of 1994?
Wow, specifically in January of 1994. Oh, was it 93 or 94 where there was a big blizzard that shut everything down for a week? I don't remember. I was in college, sort of, at the time, working full time, and primarily, hanging with friends and, C's get degrees, and so putting forth that sort of effort.
Yeah.
Where were you in 94?
I was, in January of 94, I was in 8th grade.
There you go.
I was primarily watching Star Trek all the time. It was season 7 of Next Generation and season 2 of Deep Space Nine. And everyone was super duper excited about Next Generation because, it was the finale and everything like that. The series was ending and everything. And, Deep Space Nine was just this other little show which was being done on the side. And yet, as I was watching these two things side by side, I couldn't help but think, like, boy, Deep Space Nine is much better than Next Generation this year. It's kind of weird, but it is. And I that's all I did. All I did this year is watch Star Trek.
I want to say I would have to talk to my friend Joey, who's going to get constant mention because he and I have been hanging out for so many years. But I don't remember if it was 94 or not. But 93, if I recall correctly, was the year that they released a giant videotape box set of the Star Wars movies letterboxed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 4-tape set because it had the 3 movies, and then it had the old 1983 From Star Wars to Jedi documentary.
Yeah.
And then it had a miniaturized version of George Lucas, The Creative Impulse, which was his biography, but they had an excerpted part that was just focused on like the Star Wars years and stuff. Loved the thing, treasured it. I think 94, and this would have made it the snowstorm year then. I think 94 was the year that there was a special fundraiser at the theater we like to go to where they showed the original 3 Star Wars movies on the big screen.
Yeah.
And we went to Star Wars Empire and Jedi 3 nights in a row. I want to say it was 94, but I'll have to ask him because it was either 94 or 95.
I think that set came out in 93, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because I think it came out at the same time as the Definitive Collection Laserdisc.
Yeah, that would have been the same timing. Yeah. Or at least roughly the same timing.
Which had the full version of the Creative Impulse thing in there.
No, well, la-di-da to the Laserdisc owners.
It's an insane set. I picked one up off of eBay like right when Laserdisc died. So like people were unloading things and that they had previously cherished, and that was one where like I had always wanted that set.
Yeah.
And I could never afford it because it was like $250. So once no one cared about Laserdisc, went on to eBay, and I found it for, I want to say, like $50.
Wow.
Might have even been less than that. But I bought it, and I still have it, and now it's worth like $350 or whatever. And I even checked. Mine has the original pressing of The Empire Strikes Back, where at one of the side breaks, the "Stop It, My Hands Are Dirty" scene.
Yeah.
The first shot, like there's like a wide shot of like Leia, and then it cuts to like a medium shot of Leia, and then Han comes into the shot.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of a side. And for some reason, on the original pressing, it was missing that first wide shot. And then they did like a repressing and everything, but I've got the original with the missing shot. And that was the first time that the movie was ever released in THX and everything like that. And and it's got that book in there, which makes that box set extremely heavy.
I had a copy of that book. I don't have it anymore. But yeah, you could kill somebody with that book.
Yeah.
Like if you threw that at someone, they're getting a concussion. Like that thing was legitimately, it was like a 25-pound book. Like that was crazy.
Yeah. So imagine that book in a box with 9 laser discs, and that's what you got. So,
well, my set was much more manageably attractive, and it was also actually I used to keep it wrapped in a piece of fabric so that the outside hologram would not get dinged up. And boy, did I get made fun of for that a whole lot.
I remember they had that at the Blockbuster that I went to, and it was just weird because it was like the only movie that you could get letterboxed. Really, I mean, especially for rent. So of course, like I rented Empire Strikes Back because I had never seen it letterboxed before, and I remember like thinking it was the most amazing thing, and thinking like everyone would clearly know that it was the most amazing thing, and taking it home and telling my cousin about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." And then like I stick it in the machine and it starts up and I'm amazed by it, and then like she turns to me and she's like, next time I come over here, I'll bring over my copy because it's much better. It fills the entire screen. And I'm like,
yes.
Did I not just explain? That's when I realized nobody gets it. Nobody gets it.
But the thing is, 93, that's very early on.
Yeah.
In the letterboxing wars. Like,
sure.
Trying to convert people was so difficult, especially when you wind up going over somewhere and you say to her, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm going to show you why letterboxing is so great." And she's got like a 10-inch Zenith cathode ray, and you're like, "Oh, this isn't going to go well."
Yeah.
This is not going to go well at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So next week will be an easy choice for us because there's only one movie that was released.
Only one movie released, starring, I believe, Richard Gere, yes?
Yes, it is. January 21st movie is Intersection. And for anyone who's excited to watch it, it is available on Amazon Prime.
Yay.
So that's nice.
That is nice.
Yeah.
That is nice. The premise is that a man...
Wait. I don't know the premise.
You don't even want to know... Oh, that's right. Okay.
I don't know. I've lived 25 years without hearing the premise of Intersection. Might as well go
hold on.
week.
Do the math here. It's a Richard Gere movie. What do you think at least part of the premise is going to be about?
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah.
We'll find out.
There you go.
In the meantime, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, just look for Castle Junkie. That's who I am. That's my name. Don't wear it out. And you can find me here on the network co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, a Star Wars podcast with Matthew Rushing. And, pay attention to Kessel Junkie because that's where I tell everybody what I'm doing anyway. So where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K, and you can also find me on my website doing a show called Film Damage on filmdamagepod.com. And, you can find me on Trek FM now, Trek.fm, doing a show called Tracks from the Edge, where we provide audio commentaries for all the new episodes of Discovery. So check that out, too.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, everybody knows their assignment, Intersection. And if you want to reach out to us, not just through those means, but you can go to nerdparty.com/contact, look up Retro Perspective, drop us a line, and let us know if you had a different opinion of Body Snatchers or a compelling reason why we should revisit this week and watch House Party 3.
There you go. All right. So until next week, be kind, rewind.